Hello, I'm Sally-Ann Ashley. I'm a UK-based abstract artist, and I also run a course for artists and creatives called Creative Shift. Creative Shift is a 10-week program based on my own creative practice of navigating the shifts in my work. Each time I become stuck in the studio or frustrated, I now have a framework that I can apply each time my work evolves. I've now shared my framework with many artists and witnessed numerous shifts on both the personal and practical level. I hear artists talking about how free they feel in their work, how much more confident they feel, how courageous they are in the studio. So if you're wondering if creative shifts for you this year, I've interviewed some previous course members and asked them to share a little bit about their experience on the course and how it impacted their practice, in the hope that it'll answer some questions that you have. I hope you enjoy the videos. And if you have any questions, please contact me on the links below. Thank you. Today I'm chatting with Anne Roberts. Anne took Creative Shift earlier this year, and I've invited her here today to chat a little bit with me about her experience of the course and the impact it had on her practice. So welcome, Anne. Thank you for joining me.
Thanks for inviting me, Sally-Ann.
So if we can start by, if you could tell me a little bit about your creative practice and just how long you've been creating for.
Well, I haven't actually been creating for very long, really. At this point in time, it's been about 1.5 years. So when I signed up for Creative Shift, I'd actually only been creating, sort of properly as an adult for less than 1 year. And it was something that in the beginning made me wonder whether Creative Shift was for me, because I thought, well, maybe I'm not ready for a shift. I've not been doing it very long. But I decided that I wanted to do Creative Shift. So I signed up, and for the year that I'd been making art before Creative Shift, I've been mainly working with acrylics. I work from home. I don't have a studio space. I don't even have a dedicated space in the house. I have a floor standing easel that's on wheels so that I can move it around. And I have a repurposed bureau that I keep some art supplies in. And again, it's on wheels. It lives under the stairs, and I pull it out when I want to create. So that's what I've been doing. I don't sell my work. I haven't sold my work. Whether I will or not in the future, I don't know. So at the moment, I'm creating just for me and exploring being creative.
Okay, perfect. So you said when you came to Creative Shift, you hadn't been creative for all that long. So what was it that drew you to it? What made you take it?
So I think in the end, it was a couple of questions that you posed on the sign-up page, which was, are you feeling overwhelmed? Do you feel stuck? And I was feeling overwhelmed and I was feeling stuck because I'd taken in quite a lot over that 12 months, less than 12 months. Maybe too much. And I'd got to the stage where I felt I was just kind of pushing paint around. I'd come to art as a form of self-expression. I wanted to be able to, put something of me into some art. And I didn't feel I was achieving that. And I wasn't quite sure why. And ultimately that's what brought me to Creative Shift and why I signed up.
Okay. And so in response to that, what was your experience of the course?
Well, I loved it. I really loved it. I wasn't sure when I signed up what I would get out of it. I just felt that it was going to be the right thing to do and I would get something out of it. You're a great teacher. You're very warm and you're very nurturing as well, which I think certainly for me as a new artist and not being very sure about myself, the warmth and the nurturing that you bring to the course was fantastic. And the community that you create as well, with the other coaches, shout out to Lucy and Karen from last year. And it felt like a really safe space to be vulnerable. And by being vulnerable, I felt I got more out of the course because I could really deep dive into the lessons and not keep it bottled up. I could share what I was gaining from the lessons in that really strong, supportive community. And there were lots of people in the same boat. Very often you do a course like this and you think, oh my God, I'm going to be the only one that feels like this or does this way or has a challenge with this. And suddenly, if you're willing to be open and be vulnerable, you get all this feedback and other people are saying, oh my God, that was my experience too. And I'm so glad you said that. And, it was fabulous. It was really great.
Oh, amazing. And I think you're right. There is that when people come together, and if you're willing just to, like you say, just open up and willing to be honest, because there's I don't know, there's so much online where we're sort of, behind the screens and behind your Instagram post and behind this, and everything can look very glossy, but actually underneath we're just people doing our thing. And when we can, I think, just be honest about that and be like, well, I struggle with this too, or how do you feel about that? And it's like, oh yeah. So all very relatable under the surface. Okay, so would you say that anything shifted for you?
Yes, I think I shifted. The biggest shift for me, there were lots of small shifts, I think, and they carry on happening. But I think the big shift for me was I shifted from being deeply frustrated and disappointed with just moving paint around on paper to being more open and curious and playful. And I think a big shift that happened, or maybe the reason why that happened, was the way the course brought out that connection between art and life. Because when I signed up for Creative Shift, I had this, I'm going to paint, I'm going to show my self-expression through paint. And then I thought, well, who is this self? I don't even know who this self is or what this self wants to express. And I think that's a really big shift that Creative Shift gave me, was that connection, and it's that connection that I return back to time and time again now. If I feel I'm losing my way, I think that was the biggest shift. There were lots of small shifts, but that was a big shift.
Amazing. That sounds great. And it's so, I think sometimes, like you say, we do differentiate between, right now I'm making my art, and we sort of have it as almost like a singular thing or activity that we do. And actually it's so integrated in your life.
Yes.
And it's a creative life, not just your art that you create.
Yeah.
And just for people who are thinking about taking this course, they might be considering like how long it's going to take or how much time they need to put in. What would you say? How much time did you feel you allocated per week for this?
That's a tricky question to answer, I think, for me, because I did a lot of reflective stuff. So in terms of what was going on in my head and things I was noticing when I was out and about, I spent a lot of internal time on the course, but then I do have that available to me. When it came to, sitting down, writing things out, maybe thinking about things deeply, dedicated time, it was probably only, I don't know, 2, 3, 4 hours a week. I didn't really track it. I just know that it provoked a lot of deep reflection in me. So that was where a lot of my time went, was in that deep reflection.
Yeah. But like you say, those moments happen often when we are out walking the dog, or for me, doing the washing up or something. So it's like you can slip back into that when you, even if you had 10 minutes, you know, waiting in traffic or something, it's, I know it's quite difficult to put a time on it, but I always describe it as you could do part of creative shift while you're waiting for the kettle to boil.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. And I think, you know, some of the things that I did that took up actual time were where I felt a strong pull to respond to something in the course. So at one point I went and I dug through old journals, you know, because I was doing some inner work and I thought, where are my old journals? I need to get them out. I need to look at them. And I looked at them and I decided I wanted to alter some of the pages. So I ripped some pages out and I painted over them. So, but you know, that was all discretionary time. That was what Creative Shift prompted in me to do, and that's going to be different for everybody. And I think some people won't spend a lot of time on the physical, you know, physically doing stuff for Creative Shift, but other people may spend heaps of time if they've got it. So it's very, very individual.
Yeah. Okay. And how would you say the experience has impacted your practice? Like which of the tools that we went over do you think you are implementing today in your practice?
All of them.
All of them. All at once. Which were the standout ones, or which help you the most?
I think the two that help the most, one is following nudges. I find now, going back to something you said earlier about, you know, compartmentalizing. So often we say, this is art time, this is non-art time. In the past, I would have done more of that. And if I'd felt the urge to explore something, you know, what happens if I do this? You know, I'd have thought, right, well, next time I do art, I'll try it. But I guess one of the advantages of painting at home is now, if I find perhaps a new mark making tool, because I'm always like picking things up off the street or out of the recycling and thinking, oh, that might make an interesting mark.
Brilliant.
In the past, I would have set it to one side and thought, right, next time, you know, I've got the paints out. But now I'm more inclined to just say, right, give me a yogurt pot lid, I'll put a bit of paint on it and I'll just try this mark in my sketchbook. And apart from anything else, very often I'll get a clear, oh yeah, I like that. I like what that does. Or no, actually, it can go back in recycling. And that's helped reduce the overwhelm apart from anything else.
Yes.
So following those nudges is a big thing for me now.
Yeah.
And the other perhaps is taking a pause. And I think maybe as a new artist, I threw myself into everything. Got to learn more, you know, try more, try harder. Going from one thing to the next. Oh, I don't like it. Okay, we'll start again. And Creative Shift helped me to see that that wasn't helpful for me, and that very often, even a short pause can help.
Yeah.
It can be a pause between making marks on a single piece, or it can be a pause between painting sessions. You know, I'm pausing when things have gone well. I'm pausing when things have been frankly disappointing, you know. So those are the two things I think that have made the biggest difference out of all of the things, is the following the nudges and the taking the pauses.
Yeah, they're two of the big weeks, I think, aren't they?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so if there's anybody watching this video and they're thinking whether to take Creative Shift next year with me, what would you say to them?
Well, I would say if you've even got to the stage where you're thinking about it and you're watching these videos, that Creative Shift has got something that you can, you know, you can take from it that is really going to help you. And I think if you're willing to do the work, which isn't necessarily painting work, it isn't a course where, you know, you, Sally Ann, you're not going to say, okay, go paint this, go paint that, or try doing this. It's not that kind of course. It's very much self-led, introspective, and if you like that and you're willing to do the work, it's going to reap so many benefits for you in your art practice. So sign
Thanks. And that's amazing. Thank you so much. I haven't heard you speak like, or, you know, say all of those things. So that's really, really lovely for me to hear. And I'm so, so pleased that you're still using the tools in your practice, even after the course is finished. So thank you again for joining me today, and I'll see you soon. Bye.
Yeah, thanks. Bye.